Jackson Hale looked down at the crumpled deed, 200 acres for just $50. An absurdly cheap price, but for a broke rancher like Jackson, it was his last chance to start over. He stepped out of the truck and took a long breath, but he had only taken a few steps when he froze. In the middle of the cracked, dusty yard, under the blazing sun, 4 bodies hung upside down from a makeshift wooden post. Their hair dangled like long black ribbons, their hands bound tightly with steel wire, their skins stained with red dirt and covered in layers of fresh and fading wounds. They were 4 Apache women, young, strong, but tortured to the brink of death. Jackson stood in shock. Dear God, what the hell is this? One of them, the woman with the longest black hair, was still conscious. Blood trickled down from her forehead, dripping toward her lips from the force of gravity. She opened her eyes and looked at him through tangled strands of hair. You, she whispered, her voice weak and strained. You should not have come here. Jackson rushed forward, trying to get them down. Who did this to you? The woman squinted, her breath shallow and broken. They are coming back. You need to leave now. Jackson clenched his jaw. No. After everything he had just seen, he could not turn away. Jackson laid the girl down on the hard ground, his hands trembling not from fear, but from fury. Never in his life had he witnessed something so brutal. The other 3 women were still unconscious, their bodies limp like discarded dolls. The one who was awake, the woman he would later know, as Nayeli tried to sit up, but pain forced her back down. Jackson immediately caught her. Do not push yourself, he said. Let me help you. Nayeli tilted her head, her deep black eyes studying him, as if trying to figure out what kind of man he was. Then she said something that stopped Jackson cold. You are the new landowner. Are you not? Jackson blinked. How did you know? Nayeli gave a tired, bitter smile. Because no one comes out here, unless they want to kill us, or they are the unlucky fool who just bought this place. Jackson frowned. I paid $50 for this land. Why? Nayeli looked straight into his eyes, unwavering. Because it is a trap. Jackson stood still, the desert wind whipping red dust around his boots. She continued, each word cutting like a blade. The traffickers hung us up here to lure in the new owner. They want a witness, someone to pin the blame on. A poor, nameless man, living alone in the desert. Perfect for a fake confession. Jackson clenched his fists. They did all this just to kill you? To erase the evidence, Nayeli replied. We escaped from a major human trafficking network, and the man leading the hunt is a corrupt federal agent named Morrison. When she said the name, it felt like a cold wind swept down Jackson's spine. Elena, Rose, Lily, Maria. He hunted every one of them, Nayeli whispered, her voice weakening. We have been running for years, but this time, they will stop at nothing to kill us. Jackson placed a hand on her shoulder. No one deserves to go through this. I will get you inside. Find a way to take care of you. Nayeli shook her head sharply. No, you do not understand. They could be back any moment. She forced herself to her feet and pointed toward the distant dirt road. Listen to me carefully. You need to leave. Right now. If you stay, you will die with us. Jackson looked at the women lying unconscious in the dirt, their bruises, their skin marked by violence. He swallowed hard. Then he answered, slow but steady. You can tell me to go, but I cannot stand by and watch people die in front of me. Nayeli stared at him for a long moment. In her fierce Apache eyes, something shifted, part resistance, part fear. Then you need to understand, she whispered. They do not just want to kill us. They want this land, and anyone standing on this land becomes a target. Before Jackson could respond, the sound of an engine echoed from a distance, heavy, steady, drawing closer. Nayeli closed her eyes and gave a pained smile. Too late. They are here. At first, the sound of engines in the distance was just a faint rumble like thunder buried deep underground. But within seconds, Jackson realized it was getting closer. Fast. A plume of red dust began to rise on the horizon. Nayeli clenched her jaw, trying to stand even though her legs were still trembling. "Jackson, listen to me," she gasped. "Those are their vehicles. 3 of them. Black SUVs. No license plates. They come back on schedule to check our corpses." Jackson felt the blood in his veins turn to ice. "They think you are already dead?" Nayeli gave a faint nod. "Yes. They hang us out here to die slowly under the sun. Saves them the trouble of getting their hands dirty." The engines were close enough now that Jackson could hear the rhythm of every cylinder. 3 vehicles. Not a beat out of sync. He pulled Nayeli into the shade of the porch, whispering, "We need to hide. We have to move the others now." But Nayeli placed a hand on his chest, stopping him. "Jackson, you do not understand. If they find even one of us still breathing, they will scour this desert until nothing is left alive." Jackson gritted his teeth. "Then what do you want me to do? Leave you here?" "I cannot do that." Nayeli stared at him for a long time, so long that Jackson felt like she was weighing every inch of his soul. Then she spoke, no longer in warning, but as a challenge. "A choice. You have 2 paths, Jackson Hale. 1. Get back in your truck. Drive away. And pretend you never saw us. 2. Stay here. And learn why 4 Apache women would rather die on this land than let them take us again." The wind kicked up, throwing hot dust across Jackson's face. He knew she was telling the truth. No tricks. No seduction. Just raw, brutal truth. The red dust grew higher in the distance. The vehicles were now in sight, 3 black SUVs, like hunting beasts that never tired. Jackson glanced at the 3 unconscious women, curled up in the weak shadow beneath the porch, their bruises dark and raw, steel wires still digging into their skin. He swallowed hard. "You think I am the kind of man who would walk away?" Jackson asked softly. Nayeli looked straight at him. "Most white men are. When they see our blood, they turn their backs. Then you picked the wrong man." Jackson pulled the old gun from his belt and flipped off the safety. "I am staying." Nayeli did not smile. She did not sigh. She just gave the slightest nod, like she had finally found something she had not dared believe in for years. "Then come with me. We need to go down." "Down where?" Nayeli crouched, yanked up a loose wooden plank from the porch floor. A dark opening appeared below, cold air drifting up from the earth. A tunnel. Abandoned mine. And something deeper still. The sound of engines came to a stop at the gate. Nayeli looked toward the noise. Her voice dropped, like a curse being spoken aloud. "They are here." Jackson had just managed to pull the wooden plank back into place when the sound of car doors slamming echoed through the yard. Heavy boots hit the ground, followed by the crackle of radios. They were right outside the porch. "Move," Nayeli whispered, pulling him into the pitch. The air below was ice, cold, thick with the smell of rotting stone and rusted iron. The tunnel was narrow, just wide enough for one person to crouch through. The walls were dry and cracked, like they had survived hundreds of desert seasons. Jackson carried 2 of the unconscious women, while Nayeli supported the 3rd. Darkness closed in around them. But Nayeli's Apache eyes never lost their way. This used to be a mine?" Jackson asked in a hushed voice. Nayeli gave a faint nod, whispering back, "An abandoned silver mine. Shut down 60 years ago. What few know is, the government repurposed it." "Repurposed it for what?" She did not answer right away. The dim light from a wall-mounted torch flickered across her strong, determined face. "You will see." They walked several hundred feet before the tunnel opened into a wide chamber. A massive steel door stood ahead, covered in dust, yet still radiating the authority of something once owned by the military. Beside it was an old electronic panel, its yellow light blinking weakly. Jackson's eyes widened. "What the hell is this?" Nayeli pressed her finger to the panel and entered a code she knew by heart. The steel door groaned, then slowly slid open, revealing a deep chamber beyond untouched remnants of Cold War-era tech. Briefing rooms, filing cabinets, wall-mounted circuit boards, dust-covered intercoms. "Welcome to the Witness Protection Center." That got left behind. She said it like she was guiding him into a place that once held hope, but now was just a graveyard of broken promises. Jackson looked around, trying to make sense of the chaos. The government used this place to protect who? Nayeli gently laid the unconscious women onto old mattresses in a makeshift medical room. Then she turned, locking eyes with Jackson. To protect victims like us. Or they used to. What do you mean? Her face darkened, eyes turning sharp as mountain stone. Some agents sold the location of safe houses to the traffickers. The man leading the hunt, Morrison, he used to work here. Jesus Christ, Jackson whispered, a chill running down his spine. Just then, the old intercom let out a sharp burst of static, then fell silent. But from the way Nayeli reacted, Jackson knew that was not normal. What's wrong? He asked. Nayeli glanced up at the rusted camera in the ceiling. The system detected movement at the entrance. They are inside the mine. Jackson gripped his gun tightly. They know about this place? Nayeli's voice turned grim. If Morrison is leading them, he knows every brick down here. The steel door behind them began to shut, with a deep, echoing groan like the lid of a tomb sealing shut. Jackson, Nayeli said slowly, her voice low and heavy. From now on, there is no going back. Thank you for being here with me. If this story reminded you of the old days, the red dust afternoons, the sound of hooves echoing in your chest, subscribe to my channel, so that every day we can sit together once more, and I can share with you another tale from the Wild West. The control room lay deep underground in total darkness, lit only by a few flickering fluorescent tubes barely clinging to life. When Nayeli powered up the system, the large screen in front of them blinked to life, showing grainy black and white camera feeds scattered throughout the mine. Jackson spotted shadows moving through the entrance tunnel. Not just one, but several. Nayeli's voice dropped, heavy with tension. They've reached level 3. That fast? It means someone is guiding them. Jackson frowned. Who could guide them, unless they knew the layout? Nayeli turned to him, her eyes sharp as blades. There's only one person. Morrison. Right then, one of the camera feeds switched views, revealing a squad of agents in black gear, handguns drawn, earpieces in, moving with complete confidence. In the middle of the group walked a man holding a flashlight, his posture disturbingly calm. Nayeli clenched her jaw. That's him. That goddamn snake. As the camera zoomed in, Jackson saw Morrison's face. Not the rough kind you would expect from a criminal, but the clean, composed look of a polished bureaucrat. Slicked back hair. Eyes cold like metal. No emotion. Jackson whispered. He doesn't look like the kind of man who'd do something so vile. Nayeli let out a dry, bitter laugh. The ones who look clean are the most dangerous. They wear the mask of decency to fool the world. The computer next to them let out a faint buzz. An old system message appeared, an archived file that had never been fully deleted. Nayeli opened it. A blurry video began to play. A hand signing off on witness data transfer. The name on the document, Agent Morrison. Jackson stared, stunned. So it really was him who leaked your info? Nayeli nodded. He sold us to the traffickers. And now that he knows we're still alive, he's here to clean up the loose ends. A soft click echoed through the camera feed. Morrison looked up directly into the lens, as if he knew Nayeli was watching from the other side. He gave a cold, calculated smile, then spoke into his radio. His voice crackled through the control room speakers. Nayeli, I know you're watching. You've run far, but today, it ends. Jackson felt an icy chill down his spine. Nayeli gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles turning pale. He wants us to be afraid, but the only thing he's afraid of is the truth getting out. Jackson turned to her. You have proof? Nayeli nodded toward a row of dusty file cabinets, old surveillance tapes, and government-labeled hardware. Everything. But someone has to bring it into the light. What do you mean? She looked him dead in the eyes, part command, part plea. Jackson, you're the only one they don't have a file on. You're the only one who can make sure this truth survives. Right then, a loud boom rang out in the distance. The camera feed for the steel door flickered, then went black. Jackson asked quickly, what just happened? Nayeli took a deep breath, her gaze sharp as a blade. They've breached the outer gate. Morrison is heading to level 4. She turned, loading a fresh clip into her old handgun. Get ready, Jackson Hale. They're not here to negotiate. Metallic footsteps echoed down the underground corridor, each step sharp and deliberate. Jackson could hear Morrison's voice ringing through his team's radio. Team 1, sweep left. Team 2, move down the cable shaft. He's not trained, just a cheap rancher. Do not let him waste our time. Nayeli leaned toward the screen, jaw clenched tight. Did you hear that? He does not even see you as a threat. Does not matter, Jackson said, his hand skimming the control panel. I am not here for his approval. Nayeli looked at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Jackson spotted a large, faded red button labeled Emergency Broadcast Protocol. He pointed at it. This still work? Nayeli stepped forward and turned the power lever. A yellow light blinked to life. If the system's still alive, it will live stream every feed from the control room's cameras to emergency channels once linked to government networks, media, watchdog groups, some off-grid servers. Enough to drive Morrison mad, Jackson said. Nayeli gave a slight, sharp smile, and enough to stop him from shooting recklessly like he usually does. A loud boom shook the floor. Dust trickled from the ceiling like desert sand caught in a dust devil. Nayeli glanced at the camera feed. Level 4 breach team. They're here. Jackson placed his hand on the activation button. It's now or never. Nayeli nodded. Jackson pressed activate. Every screen in the control room lit up. Alarms began to flash. A robotic female voice echoed through the speakers. Broadcast sequence initiated. Secure channels engaged. Images of Jackson and Nayeli filled every feed. The data was transmitting live, irreversible. Immediately, Morrison's voice crackled through his radio, this time panicked and losing control. Shut it down. Find the source. I want that room sealed. Nayeli smirked. Now he's scared. Jackson stared into the camera. Voice steady as steel. I am Jackson Hale. I am inside an abandoned witness protection facility. Here. I've witnessed corrupt federal agents, including Morrison, pursuing 4 Apache women who survived human trafficking. I am releasing all evidence right now. Morrison roared over the radio. Kill that signal. Now! At that moment, the steel door to the control room slammed with a heavy jolt from outside. Nayeli raised her gun, moving into cover. Jackson! He's here! Jackson swallowed hard, gripping the broadcast mic tightly. No one should have the power to bury the truth. The control room door burst open. Morrison stepped in, calm on the outside, but with fury flashing in his eyes, rage at being exposed to the entire world. You just dug your own grave, rancher. Jackson met his gaze without blinking. No, I dug yours. In the moment Morrison stepped into the control room, everything seemed to slow down. Red emergency lights flashed in rapid pulses. The broadcast roared through every emergency channel, and behind him, armed agents poured in like a flood. Morrison pointed directly at Jackson. Shut it down. Right. Now. Jackson did not move. He kept the microphone close, staring straight at Morrison as if looking into the face of the man who had dragged so many into hell. The world is watching you, Morrison. For the first time, Morrison's face twitched. He lunged forward, ripping the transmitter from Jackson's hands, but it was too late. The system's green light glowed steadily. The data was out. There was no taking it back. Nayeli stood behind the server tower, gun raised, her voice calm and steady. It's over, Morrison. Today, there's no place left for you to hide. He spun around, eyes burning red. You think a few old videos and the word of some washed-up rancher can bring me down? Jackson replied. Not a few files. All the records in this facility, and thousands of people watching the live stream. At that moment, another sound filled the air. Helicopters. Not one, but several. Nayeli looked up, whispering, the press. They actually came. The hallway cameras showed beams of light sweeping across the mine entrance. Groups marked with logos from major news networks were touching down, camera crews hauling gear, reporters shouting into microphones. We are witnessing a critical situation unfolding right now in Arizona. Sources confirm involvement of corrupt federal agents tied to human trafficking operations. From the opposite direction, another force emerged, fully equipped federal agents. Clearly not aligned with Morrison. Marked with official insignia and full tactical gear. Inside the control room, one of them shouted through a megaphone. Drop your weapons. All unauthorized agents on your knees. Now. Morrison's men hesitated. Just for a second. Then one dropped his weapon, another removed his earpiece, and the dominoes began to fall. Only Morrison remained standing, isolated in the middle of the room. He looked around the cameras filming him live, the evidence plastered across every screen. And the real federal agents closing in. He screamed, a mix of rage and desperation. "You do not understand. I was following orders." One of the agents grabbed him, twisted his arms behind his back, and cuffed him. "You are under arrest for federal corruption, human trafficking, and the murder of protected witnesses. You can explain in court." Nayeli watched, her eyes wide as if, for the first time, she truly believed the nightmare might end. Jackson let out a long breath, his back against the wall, exhausted but finally relieved. One of the official agents walked up to Jackson. "You were the one who triggered the signal, right? Thank you. You just saved a lot of lives." Jackson glanced at Nayeli and the three Apache women, now slowly waking. "No. I just helped the right people." In the control room, Morrison was dragged away, the harsh glow of camera lights hitting his face like a final sentence. The next morning, on the land that had once known only deadly silence, now stood lines of ambulances, federal vehicles, and news helicopters circling overhead. The area around the mine was cordoned off like a battlefield after the final shot. The Apache women were brought out after the medical team confirmed they had survived the worst. 3 were still weak, but stable. Nayeli, though seriously injured, stood tall watching everything unfold, as if she refused to miss the final chapter of a long, harrowing story. A female reporter approached Jackson, microphone raised. "Mr. Hale, can you confirm that you were the one who triggered the broadcast, exposing Morrison's trafficking network?" Jackson paused briefly, then answered simply, "I just did what any decent human being should do." The reporter prepared to ask another question, but a federal agent stepped in, signaling her to back off and give the victim space. Nayeli walked over to Jackson. She was wrapped in a thin blanket, her tangled black hair draped over her shoulders. But her eyes no longer held the tension of the night before. Now, there was something calm in them, like someone who had finally broken free after years in chains. "Jackson," she said softly. He turned to her. "You feeling okay?" Nayeli smiled gently, the first real smile he had ever seen on her face. "Better than ever. We thought we would die out here, but you changed everything." Jackson shook his head. "It wasn't me. It was the truth." Nayeli stepped closer, her voice dropping low. "For 4 years, we ran, hid, lived in fear. But today," she looked out across the vast land, where the early sunlight cast a soft gold over the valley. "Today, the fear ends." A senior agent approached them with a document in hand. "Jackson Hale, the government has decided to designate this area as a human trafficking victim sanctuary zone. You are the legal owner of the land, so we'd like you to serve as its civilian guardian, a kind of steward and protector." Jackson looked stunned. "Me? I'm just a broke rancher." Nayeli placed a hand on his arm, her voice firm. "Sometimes the poorest man is the only one who cannot be bought." Jackson looked at the 4 Apache women, at the once barren land, now lit by the power of truth. He took a deep breath, then nodded. "All right. I'll do it." In the distance, the news helicopters pulled away, leaving behind the gentle silence of the desert. Nayeli stood beside him, her hair flowing in the wind toward the rising sun. 4 years of running," she whispered, eyes softly closed. "Today, we stop," Jackson replied, voice deep and steady. "And starting today, this will be home for all of us. There are people in this world with no wealth, no power, no names written in history books, but the world keeps turning because of them. They are the ones who stop their truck when someone falls, who reach out when others are drowning in despair, who choose the right path no matter how hard it is. Their kindness is quiet, asks for nothing in return, but it has the power to change the fate of those the world has forgotten. And sometimes, all it takes is one such person to make the darkness retreat." It has been an honor to share this story with you. I truly hope that peace and happiness find their way into your life. I love you all, my dear listeners of Wild West storytelling. Tell me what you thought of this story in the comments below. Type the number 8 if you enjoyed it. And do not forget to subscribe so you never miss another thrilling tale from the Wild West.